This is Johnny Bluestar. Welcome to Threshold, a global media event. Is the universe just a random dance of atoms, or is it a manifestation of a supremely intelligent architect? Can its purpose, or our purpose here on Earth, be adequately assessed? Can we commune with it, know its intentions, cooperate with its direction? Here, we define threshold as a gateway state of awareness, allowing mankind to cross into a place of real cognition. Threshold allows us to approach questions of higher reality through the door of experience, rather than mere belief. Welcome to Threshold, where we tear away the veil from commercial media, bringing our audience and participants into another realm of reality and enhanced communication. This is Johnny Bluestar on Threshold Radio, in a show we're calling Uncovering the Entrepreneur Within. Our guest is Eric K. Kinnamon, who is shortly to become an associate professor of management at the University of South Dakota. He prefers the nickname K, which we will call him throughout this program. Good morning, K.
Hello, how you doing?
Well, it seems like you're about to embark on a really interesting movement upwards in your career. Why don't you tell us what your career has been so far?
Okay, well, I'm going to go back to basically high school. I graduated high school and I decided to join the military right away. And so I was a combat medic, combat nurse for the military. I served 8 years, and part of the story on my education and my background, I think, is a little bit important because I'll tie it into the entrepreneurship items later. But for most of my life, I usually have received the education after I've did the job. So kind of backwards on a lot of items.
Well, I understand that.
I was a combat medic, combat nurse for the military, and they trained me to be a trauma nurse. So when I got it,
I'm sorry, what division?
5501st U.S. Army Hospital, stationed in San Antonio.
Ah, okay.
Army. Let's say the military started me out in the nursing medical career path, and when I got out, that is a great paying job. And as far as doing the trauma training, I was basically ICU trained. So I worked as an ICU nurse when I got out. But I real quickly figured out, and this was way back in 1994 to 2002 timeframe. I figured out that my job skill was in demand high enough that I didn't actually have to work for the hospital to work in the hospital. And I started doing what we call contract nursing or agency nursing,
right,
which is basically instead of me working directly for the hospital, I work for an agency or myself, and I contract with the hospital directly. So this was kind of like my first, not other family members, but my own personal journey into entrepreneurship.
Right.
And because of, again, the field I was in and the training I was in, and also, I'm a weird one. Military got me used to working some odd shifts, so I'm okay with working weekends, and I'm okay working nights. So I'm an ICU nurse that likes to work weekends and likes to work nights, and the differentials and pays were just through the roof, high demand, and so I would contract my labor out to the hospital. I did that for a number of years and eventually got burned out of nursing, so I wanted out of nursing. And at that time, my wife was actually pursuing her PhD, and all of this was happening inside Texas. She was pursuing her PhD in social psychology, experimental psychology at Texas Tech University. So when I was at she was at Texas Tech, I decided, well, I'm here. I might as well go back to school myself and, try to move up items. And so I started doing my MBA. My undergrad, believe it or not, it's actually not medical related. It is management of information systems. And I started doing that job on the side of nursing. And again, the IT work was high enough demand. I started contracting myself out. So again, started another little contracting business. But I was doing IT. I moved to Texas Tech, and I had, kind of like these two different paths to go. Either go back to the business IT route or go, business medical route, whatever else. And so I kind of split the difference. So for my MBA from Texas Tech, I have a concentration in health management organizations, finance, and management.
Wow.
It was interesting. While I was at Texas Tech, they offered me a slot into the PhD program, and I was like, I am never, ever going into academia. I like the business world too much. I like the private sector too much, whatever else. And so I moved to Alabama, which is where my wife got her job, and worked IT when I was here. And then probably about 6 months into it, something happened, and it's just like I decided to go ahead and attempt to work, I guess, at the university level.
What actually happened to make you make that change?
I was working mad hours as an IT administrator when I was working for a business. When I was doing contracting, was both the IT contracting and the nursing contracted, I had some bad hours, as far as like working nights, and then hospitals, IT things, they always break on the weekend or holidays, whatever else. So I was used to kind of working holidays, weekends, not a great schedule. But when I was working for someone else, I was actually putting in a lot more hours, and oddly enough, I would consider it kind of like the same bad hours, So I was working for a banking system at the time, and, stuff happened on the weekends or stuff happened on the night. I was expected to come in still. But again, compared to what I was earning contractor-wise versus, corporate side, whatever else, it wasn't much of a pay increase. I was getting paid a little bit more because I had, a full 40 hours or plus 40 hours every single week. But per hour rate, I was earning much better as a contractor. The area that I was in was kind of small, so I didn't see a lot of entrepreneurship type of advancements that I could do. As far as the IT, there wasn't the right type of businesses. There were some nursing items, and like I said, I was trying to get away from nursing. I was trying to go different direction. So anyways, my wife talked me into teaching for one semester as an adjunct. Just go teach, see if I like it. In the professor world or the academic world, there's three main tenets to our job. One's called service, research, and teaching. Service is every professor is expected to go out, support the community or the area in some way or form through volunteer work, through helping, through workshops, something like that. The research, we're supposed to, that's how we kind of stay on top of our topics. Whatever we're supposed to be teaching, we're supposed to be up to date on the latest research. So that's the reason they forced that. And the last one's teaching. Well, service, I don't mind. I mean, I'm a nurse. I volunteered for Katrina when I was, after the fact, for no money, whatever else, to go down and help out. So service isn't a really big issue for me as far as doing items. The research, I had helped with my wife on some research. I knew I enjoyed that. It was the teaching part. And the teaching part came in. My mom was a high school teacher. And I remember some of her stories, and I was thinking, a student's going to say something to me, and I'm just going to backhand him, and boom, I'm fired, and that's the end of my career. So I wasn't sure if I was going to like the teaching part. I taught that semester, and I did something you should never do. I taught 3 different classes. We call it 3 different preps. I taught a business communication class, a financial management class, and an operations management class. And one of the places where I worked IT, I worked for a company. It was with a manufacturing company. So I was extremely familiar with operations type work. So these were 3 areas I could, I don't want to say teach off the top of my head, but at least professionally I was extremely familiar with, and I had the educational background to be able to teach it at the university level. And what I realized was teaching at the university level versus teaching at probably any other level is completely different. All the students that you have at the university level, they want to be there. No one's forced to be there. They want to learn. They actually have a lot of questions, and there's a driving force for why they're there. They're looking for gainful employment. And so having an instructor that had professional background like I did, they were really interested in me because they'd come up, okay, what exactly did you do in your career? What did you do to, be successful, whatever else? And all the way up until this time frame, including the military, I've always been promoted early or given pay raises and recognized, whatever else. Looking back at this, and I tell this to my students, I don't think I did anything special. I think one of the things I would say is in the entrepreneurship world, we say, you need to focus on what the customer wants. When you're working inside of the business, your customer is the business, so what is the business specifically looking at? And so I was really good about identifying that and doing basically what they wanted, and I'd get rewarded for it. So I taught for a semester, and I absolutely loved it. And by the end of the semester, I applied for a PhD program. And the program I ended up going to was University of Memphis. They do now, but at the time that I joined, or I started, was 2007. And at that time, they did not have PhDs in entrepreneurship. What usually happened is you would become a management professor with strategy. And strategy is usually like the capstone area for most business programs, undergrad and master's level. And strategy is where you teach individuals how to tie all the different parts of a company together. So how does finance, accounting, operations, how do they all operate together to make the overall firm successful? The difference between entrepreneurship and strategy is when you're dealing with strategy and you're talking about strategy, usually you have divisions. You have an HR division, operations division. The difference between that and entrepreneur is the entrepreneur, usually it's them or a small team. They don't have a team they can throw off the marketing to. It's most likely the entrepreneur themselves. So this is why entrepreneurship was usually kind of situated under strategy. So my actual research focus for my PhD is entrepreneurship and international management. And both of those areas fall under strategy, so which is why I'm considered a strategy professor. So that brings me up to current right now. When I moved to University of Memphis, strategy is a very in-demand field, just like entrepreneurship is. But unfortunately, strategy, I shouldn't say unfortunately, it's given me a job. Strategy is in more demand than entrepreneurship, so I'll be responsible for teaching strategy when I move up there.
Well, thank you very much for telling us that.
That's where I am now.
That is sort of a story of an entrepreneurial journey to becoming a teacher. So I'm going to take a break now, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Okay.
This is Johnny Bluestar, CEO of New Galaxy Enterprises, a media content development company. Initially, I wanted to be a playwright, but once in college, I fell in love with movies and have been writing my own and for clients for many years. No, I'm not entrenched in Hollywood. But I think if you look at my samples, you can determine if I can capture the drama and power of your idea. I'm up to refining your work to professional quality. I've worked on dramatic films, comedy, science fiction, documentaries, and even musicals. I have several books published now that are the beginning of book and film franchises. To learn more about New Galaxy, see samples of our work, or talk to us about your project, please go to www.newgalaxyenterprises.com and fill out the contact form.
The following is from West Side Warrior, the memoir of Ray Boylan, a Korean War veteran and crime fighter. He was there fighting in the world's coldest battlefield when the Chinese communists invaded.
Desperate squad members ran past our foxhole yelling, "Get the hell out of here, there's too many of them!" Again, we saw the Chinese soldiers charging in with opium-induced mindlessness, oblivious of our bullets. Again, we heard the bugles and whistles. Climbing out of our foxhole, Bob dropped 2 hand grenades behind us, and I threw one over my shoulder. Bullets whizzing by our heads, Bob and I became bolts of lightning flashing across the mountainside. Like a hideous film, desperate scenes like this played out on the Tokong Pass for 3 days. Sometimes I played in the scene. Sometimes I could only watch and wonder if it were real, or if I'd be suddenly jolted out of my trance by an RKO usher saying, "Hey, did you kids sneak in here?"
To acquire this book, Google westsidewarrior.boylan.kindle. Boylan is spelled Boylan. That's West Side Warrior, Boylan, Kindle.
Here's an inspiring song, Gifted, an homage to Robert Johnson, a great blues singer and songwriter, by a UK artist, Stephanie Slevin. A lot of us who do things like this, painters, writers, songwriters, go through a lot of the same challenges other types of entrepreneurs do. A lot of people probably didn't like Robert Johnson, but he didn't care. Stephanie Slevin is one of the best singer-songwriters around, but she knows, like I do, the hard cost to a person striving for success, even if they are gifted. Stephanie Slevin in this song pays tribute to Robert Johnson in a song called Gifted.
They say you're gifted. You must have got your gifts from the devil. Your lyrics uplifted because they're on the new level. Look to the left, look to the right. There's a devil on my shoulder, or is he hiding from sight? They say you're gifted. You must have made a pact with the devil. Your lyrics uplifted. Could I not have got them from heaven? What's wrong with you? Can't you see? My gifts are from God, for He believes in me. so I get a little frisky. Gifted, so you poison my whiskey. Look to the left, look to the right. There's a devil on my shoulder, or is he hiding from sight? They say you're gifted, you must have got your gifts from the devil. Your lyrics uplifted because they're on a new level. What's wrong with you? I've waited so long. My gifts are from God, and my name is Robert Johnson.
We're back with K Kinnamon, who is advancing in his career to become Associate Professor of Management at the University of South Dakota. And we've been talking about what his career has consisted of. And it's been rather an interesting, diverse kind of path, but still in a certain way, very focused and very sort of it seems like to me, Kay, this job that you're going into is sort of like, it's like you're all the different diversity aspects of your career, the IT and the nursing, all kind of blossom together in a way that you can help other people pursue a entrepreneurial and a kind of management direction. Is that correct?
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's a lot of different items came together for me personally for doing my own entrepreneurship items. But then I think the way that I did it also makes me a really good candidate for share that to other people. So for example, when I was younger, I did, like I said, in the nursing and both in IT field, I did consulting. So I am used to dealing with clients, billing, setting up schedules and items like that from that aspect. Going back into my education, I now see some of the importance of some of the items that I was doing and for telling people, moving forward. So I have that practical knowledge and I have the academic or the research knowledge. People will talk about which one's more important. I think they're both important.
Well, I was going to say that you were saying that privately when we were talking that oftentimes business teachers are given a little more latitude to start their own sort of independent business because it helps them with the actual training they're providing to their students.
Yes. So in the academic field, it's a full-time job, and so the university wants the professor to work full-time for the university. But we do have that component called service where the professor is supposed to go out and help the community items, whatever, or do something, out in the real world. Well, for business professors, we're given a little bit more latitude or it's a little bit more lax on us, and that we're encouraged to stay current in this field. And so that might be working part-time, moonlighting, working on boards or whatever else. And the importance of this, and the example I like to use is like of an accounting professor. If an accounting professor currently has their own accounting firm and they're actively advising clients, now they don't have to be doing it full-time. They could just be doing a few clients a week or a month or whatever else. But this is enough to keep them on top of the new tax laws, the new items coming out, the new trends. When that accounting professor then steps into the classroom, they can convey that information to the students. One of the things you hear about complaints, from students is you're teaching us theory. Well, no, this helps the professor to be able to teach concrete information and concrete information that is current. I'm saying, again, this is what's happening in the field right now, and they're being able to bring it into the business place. So for most of the places I've been, the business departments have been extremely actually supportive. I won't even say lax about stopping us, but supportive of us doing other activities, side hustles, moonlighting, however you want to phrase it. Now, we still, to be clear, we still have to do our, quote, 40 hours and our commitment to the university, but they would like us to see go above and beyond that and stay active in the business community.
Well, am I correct in thinking that, I don't know how long it's been since entrepreneurship sort of entered formally into academia? I don't think it was there, 20 or 30 years ago. I think it was a very minor, unusual aspect of academic education. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct. And it has exploded recently. I don't have numbers on top of my head, but I'm trying. So these are rough, I want to say a little bit rough guesses here. But if you go back 20 years ago, I think the number of entrepreneurship classes, not majors or degrees, but just an entrepreneurship class, you're talking like maybe 20 or something like that in the United States. Very, very rare. Very few schools had it.
Because I explored that a little bit.
If you look at entrepreneurship now, well, I was going to say, if you look at it now, I would say probably every single university for a four-year institution that has a business program most likely has at least an entrepreneurship class. But in the business programs, it's maybe not 50%, but I would say, rough guessing it, 20% of universities have a minor, major, or entrepreneurship concentration or something like that. It has hugely grown.
My impression has been that business schools, that in general, back that time period, business schools were generally preparing people for corporate positions, and a lot of what they prepared them for was rather academic. In other words, not really all that useful.
Yeah.
Is that true now?
It was going back to that theory versus practical. I think businesses have changed. In fact, I'm going to use A&M as an example. So I'm no longer working there, but I was there for 3 years. And the first semester I was there, the first year I was there, the new dean implemented a requirement. All business students must have an internship, a business internship to graduate.
Oh, that's very good.
And I think this is a move. Now, the first school to do it, they just happened to do it when I was there. You know what I'm saying? Other schools I've been at, Berea College up in Kentucky, it's not required. It's just highly, 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 highly encouraged, where I don't think any student did not have one. Other schools have it, like Texas A&M, but it's not required. But I think it's moving that direction, and it's to specifically get over the problem that you were just talking about. We teach them some theory items, critical thinking, but there's also some application stuff. It's no good to learn the theory, but then not learn how to apply theory. I'm sorry, I think the business schools right now are on that trend to try to bridge that divide, and I think internships are a great way of doing it. So,
how many people do you think that graduate from an entrepreneurial academic program actually do become their own business owner or work with other people in a partnership somehow? Do you think
that is a great question, and it's one with a lot of debate right now. I'm going to have to split the answer a little bit. So I'm a professor. I can never do a straight answer, yes or no.
That's all right.
For the undergrad, well, first of all, for all college graduates, only I think about a third of graduates actually work in the degree that they went to school for. Now, that's all of undergraduates, and so you have history, psychology, sociology, and business, majors mixed all in there. Business majors tend to do the skill that they're trained at, especially the finance, accounting, and IT type folk. But you still have a lot of people who get an education in one area and they go someplace else. For an undergrad entrepreneurship degree, my opinion and some of the facts is you don't have a lot of people going in and starting their own businesses. What you do see is, I think it's a split within those people that are getting that degree. Some people see, the image of, Apple or, Facebook, whatever else, and they're thinking big bucks, whatever else. But there's also a group of students, and I can think of a student off the top of my head. I don't want to drop any names, but he came out with a really good idea. And when he first told me about it, I was kind of skeptical. I gave him cross-eyed look, whatever else. But he had a business idea, and his whole purpose for college was to get the information necessary to launch that business idea. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And he's very successful at it. So, but I think he's kind of like the outlier right now. He's not the normal entrepreneurship student. Probably half the students are just getting the degree to get the degree. Now, it's not a bad degree. It teaches general business items. But if you're going to corporate America, I think it's a little bit more important to corporate America, when they're hiring an accountant, they want someone with an accounting degree. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're going to overlook that entrepreneurship individual. Even though that entrepreneurship individual, I would call them like a jack of all trades, and that's kind of like how we train them. They have more accounting than the marketing person, but they don't have as much accounting as the accountant, student. They're not going to get looked at first, so I think that puts them at a disadvantage.
In your teaching of management, how important is the marketing aspect of it? I mean, how do you divide up the different
This is interesting. Well, let me back up. I want to finish answering the question on the entrepreneurship degree.
Yeah.
My opinion about the entrepreneurship concentration degree changes at the MBA level. When someone does an MBA, they're usually moving up into management or they're moving to a higher level items. And also, these are also individuals that are looking to start their own businesses and stuff like that. And they are, they've got business experience and to be able to do it. So I think entrepreneurship programs, concentrations, and stuff like that are much more impactful at the MBA level than they are at the undergrad level. Now, as far as what discipline is most important in the entrepreneurship realm, this is funny because I actually had to do a change of heart when I was in there. So I went in there, I was very management focused, very finance focused, you know what I'm saying? And so I was thinking management and finance and, get the money right, whatever else. But it has been clear with actually the service work and going out and working with other entrepreneurs. Those two skills, they're important. I'll agree. I'll still stay on that. But the one I'd probably say is the most important is marketing and sales.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to identify your market and you can't service a certain market or a certain customer or, somebody needs to want your product enough to pay for it. You know what I'm saying? And if you can't figure out who those people are, or if you can't make a product that does that, then I don't care what level of management you have, you're not going to be successful. So my first focus with a lot of students is the marketing aspect, and so I really stress that, and making sure that they're customer focused. The other items I think are all important in that they help support that activity. So I'm going to jump to the finance real important. Talking with other entrepreneurs earlier today. So as I reach out with my network, I talk to new entrepreneurs or people who have been entrepreneurs a while, ask them a couple questions and get them connected to LinkedIn. So that way I can follow up with them later on their business items.
Right.
And this individual had just hired, I think he said a new developer who that developer hired 2 part-time developers to work with him. So he basically has 2 full-time employees or 1 and 2 half-time employees, however you want to count it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so they're developing his product. He's got some customers coming in, but he's like, I really need to focus on the sales aspect because I need to keep cash flow going. Now, when he says cash flow, that immediately makes me jump into accounting terminology and accounting process. Yeah, he's going to make money, but he needs to make money not 5 years down the road. He needs to make money by the end of the month. And I think the accounting skills help with that. I think for understanding what I say rate of return, but what your investment is and what amount of money you can get back from a project, the financing is important. So all those other areas, I think, kind of help support the marketing and sales part. But very first thing I would stress to anybody who wants to become an entrepreneur is, learn some marketing, learn some sales, and make sure that you have a product that people actually want.
Well, with that, we're going to take another break. That was really interesting, and we'll get into more of the details of some of the things that you are teaching. We'll be right back. My company, New Galaxy Enterprises, is a California corporation specializing in the creation of media and promotional content. We are focused on original, innovative projects that are good for humanity. These projects could be nonfiction books or novels, fictional screenplays or documentary content, websites and website content, commercial advertising content for print, audio, or video products on the internet, television, or radio, musical scores for advertising, television, or film, video, audio editing, etc. We want to promote products and projects that support the environment, encourage a healthy experience in living, developing, nurturing, and useful technology, and offering platforms for positive, socially constructive entertainment or informative, transformative media. Our experience in creating a variety of products like this is rather vast, and we offer client-based and collaborative products, as well as the opportunity of active investors to join us in the creation and promotion of proprietary products, some of which are in latter stages of development. For more information, go to www.newgalaxyenterprises.com. That's www.newgalaxyenterprises.com. If you're interested in talking to us, just fill out the contact sheet and we will get back with you. Are you confused about so much information on health issues? Do you find it hard to trust the sources of conflicting advice? Try Dr. Rodier's newsletters and blogs based on the latest information published in the best medical and nutritional journals. There is no charge for subscribing. Just log on to HugoRodier.com. That's HugoRodier.com to do so, or to download Dr. Rodier's latest publications. I've been an entrepreneur, full-time or part-time, most of my life. I found it to be exciting, even thrilling, but the downward moments have been challenging. If you look at it from my perspective, it is a spiritual journey, because it is the personality of the entrepreneur which is put to the test. If he or she is actually trying to find guidance from within, you're not just trying to make money, but perfect your character in the face of adversity. Here's an interesting portrait of a player in the entrepreneurial game from New Age Visuals.
You have to be patient and have perseverance and having a sense of where you want to go and having the passion to still believe in your idea even when everybody else is saying, well, why are you wasting your time on this? And obviously it's not happening, but you know it's going to happen. You just don't, you never give up on that idea. I think what's great about the truly transformative inventions and the entrepreneurial ideas that really end up having a significant impact is they start relatively small and most people don't quite understand even what you're talking about, and they take some time before they get traction, but eventually they break through and the impact's far broader than anybody could have imagined. Entrepreneurs who want to change the world, want to have a significant impact, don't want to just build a company, they want to build an industry, don't want to just create another product or service, they really want to fundamentally improve aspects of people's lives.
The people who started these great companies, they just think out solutions on their own to problems. You don't do it the way it's been done before. That's in a book. You go out and you try something new because you think that you'll be able to make it work.
The great business icons, it's not that they were worth hundreds of millions or billions or trillions of dollars, is that they moved society forward. Whatever their motivations, whatever it was, they being here and their lust for success, for power, for money, for fame, moved us forward. Every great business leader I've ever met, in addition to being very smart, very driven, they have this, why not me? Screw it, I deserve it, let's go. And if you don't have that, you can't achieve greatness.
With all the great entrepreneurs, it was a mix of believing in an idea, but they also recognized that they had to do some things to take that idea and make it real.
It probably comes early in an entrepreneur's life where you realize you're willing to do things in the business world that other people aren't willing to do. Everybody has got ideas and everybody's got ambitions, but most people aren't willing to cross that line. And I think an entrepreneur that's successful, that's your nature. Wherever there's change, wherever there's uncertainty, there's opportunity.
You have to be able to take risks. You can't have greatness in anything without putting it on the line, and otherwise everybody would have it. If there was no apparent loss, if there was no chance of tremendous failure or tremendous setback, you can't have the upside.
There is no success without risk-taking. And I think that is actually what distinguishes the captains of industry from others.
You have to be smart, you have to have vision, you have to have all of these different things. But the most successful people are the people that had the right idea but never, ever quit or gave up. The people that really succeed in life are those that don't quit.
People react to failure in one of two ways. Either they get scared and give up, or they take that failure as a learning experience, and they kind of use that experience to redouble their efforts.
I guarantee if these guys were alive today, they wouldn't be telling you about their successes. They'd be telling you about their early failures or the places they almost failed. That's the great motivator, and you have to be able to embrace that. If you can't embrace both failure or the possibility of failure or the tremendous fear of failure, you can't be wildly successful. It's an axiomatic truth.
One striking thing about Carnegie, and this is true of the great entrepreneurs, they're willing to take risks. They're willing to roll the dice and bet, in later days, the whole corporation, or in this case, bet his career.
Most people are too busy looking on the outside to really check what their barometers say inside. So as an entrepreneur, if you look inside, you'll find things that they all need. that could become immensely popular if someone had the courage to promote it or to build it.
Every business has some uniqueness, either unique talent, unique product, unique capacity, and the trick is to find it and capitalize on it.
You're always looking for the next innovation, the next niche, the next product improvement, the next service improvement. You're always trying to get better.
He's looking into the future. He looks across the Mississippi and he sees a bridge. And he's able to see that future and then willing to have enough confidence in his vision to put everything he's got into it. And he's willing to convince others that he knows what that future is going to be.
When it finally does break through, it is sort of gratifying because you're starting to see the reality of what you always believed, that the vision you had that someday the world would be different is starting to move in that direction.
If you're in a well-run company, competing against other well-run companies, you're coming up with ideas to jump them. You're going to be thinking, they might do this, I'm going to do this. Business, in the end, is understanding the playing field. Tell me who's on it, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and what is your checkmate play to top them and nail them. And so you're always in that competitive game. You're looking at innovation. You're looking at leapfrogging, trying to get ahead of them. You're never complacent. You're semi-paranoid about what they're doing. That's what a game is all about.
Oftentimes I'm asked, do you have to be ruthless to be very successful? And I say, you do not have to be ruthless, you have to be smart. Smart is the key word. You have to be smart.
I never like to look back. I'm a very forward-thinking person and a very positive-thinking person. And the transactions that I did or did not do, I very rarely have any remorse over a situation. I like to move on.
All that matters is, how big do you want to dream and how hard do you want to work?
We're back on Threshold Radio with K Kinnamon, and we've been discussing sort of the one of the chief focuses most recently in his teaching management, which is the marketing part. And I wanted to ask you, I think that you pretty much came into this already in your life. You're very familiar with online and how online grew. But do you think there's much of is the entrepreneurial, sort of the basic entrepreneurial concepts the same for online marketing, or is there differences between, regular offline marketing? I'm
going to jump back to a story because I think it helps iterate this. I was at an entrepreneurship event in Huntsville, and it was called Brain Trust. And the idea was they would get entrepreneur individuals who are starting a business or have started a business basically at a table, and then the table would have someone basically would guide the speaking, whatever else. And they'd go around, state a problem they have, and then the other entrepreneurs would try to help that person with the business problem that they were having. Mm-hmm. And I had this one entrepreneur. I don't know if he's successful now. I know the endeavors that he tried, he has not been successful yet, but he's very, very persistent. So he's going to be. And this is where the things, fail fast, try again, whatever else. So he will be, I'm sure, successful, moving forward. But he was trying to do some items, and he was talking about game development and how he has this platform. And I forgot the platform's name. I'm not that tech savvy anymore. But he was going into it, and he was talking about how many viewers he had and items and clicks and all this other items. And the speaker, it was a very successful female entrepreneur. She cut him off at some point in time. And she's like, who is going to pay for your product? Who is giving you money? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And he got flustered because he had no answer for it. You know what I'm saying? And this makes me think to a very famous strategist professor. His name is Dr. Porter. He's Porter's 5 Forces, if you're familiar with those items. He's the one that came up with that. He talks about the internet. When it came out, it confused a lot of people, and he actually used that word. The internet is great in that I think it's a great tool, but it changed how things were done, but it didn't change the fundamentals of business, if that makes sense. You still have to have customers that are willing to pay for your product. Somebody has to be willing to pay. Now, that could be an advertiser who's willing to pay because you have lots of people on your site, or a customer willing to pay because you have a product they want. But somebody has to pay. Somehow you have to attract those people. Somehow you have to satisfy some need. And so I like I said, how Dr. Porter called it and said, the internet just confused a whole lot of people. With online marketing, I think it's the same thing. I think the principles to marketing are still there. It's just the online tweaks it, if that makes sense. So in a physical environment, you're not going to be able to collect the data to know, like in Facebook, they know your age, they know your race, they know your birthday, between enough clicks, they know your political affiliation, your likes, your dislikes, your hobbies, whatever else. Well, when I have a customer that walks into my physical business, I don't know all that information. Now, if I could get all that information, I would use it, but I don't have it. The internet creates the ability to be able to collect that information. And a lot of times it's collected through cookies or through your web browsing or whatever else.
Right.
And so with that information, you can start making more targeted type commercials and items to attract the people that you want to attract to. So I'm going to jump to a different story, and I'm sorry I forgot the company's name, but it was my wife really liked their product, and this was before the internet. So this we're talking, I guess it wasn't before the internet. Internet was just starting to develop at the time, around 2000, 1999, 2000. And this magazine is a catalog type subscription item. What they would do is they would find, fair trade made items in different countries, and then, pay those individuals a quote fair price and then ship to the United States, and you would buy it type thing. And so you'd order these items. And they were ethnic type items. So I had things from Africa, things from Australia, whatever else. My wife was really into those type of items. And so I remember the catalog coming in every single month. And then the catalog stopped coming in. And, she accused me of hiding it so she couldn't buy stuff. That was not the case. It just did not come in. And so eventually, because she thought I was hiding it from her, I had to find out where was the catalog. So I called them up and I couldn't get anyone on the phone. And eventually I found out they went out of business. And what ended up happening was, and this makes sense, the people who buy your product are more likely to buy your product again. So what they would do is they had this huge, basically like Access or Excel database, and they would rank all the customers of how much they bought from them. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then basically the top 1,000 customers or 10,000 customers would get a magazine. That's who they would ship the magazine to. Now the thing is, the magazine print cost was so expensive they'd actually go into the red. But then when those orders started coming in from those customers, they'd go back into the black. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The last cycle, somebody screwed up and they sorted backwards. And they shipped out the magazine to the 10,000 least purchasing people on their list.
Yeah, if I hadn't experienced things like that in my life. That was
the end of them.
Yeah, that is really too bad.
That was the end of them. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, I'm sure someone did something like that recently, but since you have the internet, I can pull up information. So it's a waste of money to send an advertising, for camping equipment to someone who lives in the middle of New York City and will never go out into the woods. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
The same thing, for someone in, I'm moving to South Dakota, so I don't have sticks there because we don't have a lot of trees, but fields, you know what I'm saying? Sending me a Metro Pass discount thing, whatever else, when I visit New York City is not going to be, I'm not a client, you know what I'm saying? I'm highly unlikely, very rarely would I buy that product, whatever else. And so the internet allows us to collect some of this fine-grained detail information, which I think makes it easier to identify our customers. It also makes it really easy for our customers to give us feedback. I mean, this is a common thing that sales and marketing people will tell you, but your customers that are buying stuff from you, they're the people that you need to listen to. If you have a whole lot of your customers saying, hey, we would like to see you add a widget or to do this would make the product much better, and I'd buy a new one if you did it, add the widget, you know what I'm saying? These are your current customers and they're telling you how to improve your product. In the old days, I would have to physically call a salesperson and do that, or they'd have to come by and, in a chat, a follow-up chat, they tell me. Now I can just submit that comment online. You know what I'm saying? Send an email. How do you like your product? Is there anything we could have did better? And as a person, they might get really short responses, but you get enough of those short responses or you get a really interesting response, you can follow up with that customer and say, you know what, we read your feedback and you said this. Could you tell me more of what you were thinking? And so I think the internet allows that fine-grained detail and that follow-up that just has not been possible, because of constraints, time, location, all that beforehand.
Well, you've been on LinkedIn. That's how
I'm hoping I answered the question on that one.
Yeah, very good. Mm-hmm. You've been on LinkedIn, which is actually how I encountered you. And apparently you have a network. And although the network, I guess it's really devoted to sort of helping entrepreneurial type of people. Is that correct?
I just crossed a threshold. So I just got back from a study abroad, so I wasn't paying attention to LinkedIn when I was overseas because I was taking care of students. But I just crossed the 10,000 mark for number of connections on LinkedIn.
Really? Wow, that's great.
The vast majority of my connection, I would say about 500 of those connections are people I know from, handshaking business experience type items. So my true Rolodex, what call it back in the old days, is about 500 people. And again, the base on LinkedIn is about 10,000 right now. What I started doing, especially when I became an academic, is one way for me to stay current is to stay in contact with other entrepreneurs, people doing the business, whatever else. And so I've been reaching out to entrepreneurs now, specifically, I want to say probably 5 years, but really intensely the last 3 years and the last year. So just, I go through my network of second level connections. I look to see who has started a business, at some point in their life or has been on a board or involved with some type of entrepreneurship activity and basically send them a note. Now, it's interesting. The LinkedIn, I think, is a great tool if you're a professional. I think you should have an account up there. There's free accounts. So I don't own any LinkedIn stock. Disclaimer there. So I'm not making any money off of this, but they do have a free account, and you can set up a business site for free. And I suggest everyone do that because in the old days, what we used to call, the internet for companies, we used to call them billboards on the internet, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I think LinkedIn does really good. Gives an ability for people to find you, you know what I'm saying? And if they can't remember all the details about you, you want to make it as easy for them to be able to follow up or find you as possible. So LinkedIn, I think, does that ability.
Does this help you with your research? I mean, can you use your network? I know that you do have to do certain types of research on entrepreneurship. Does the LinkedIn members help you with that?
I actually will use it for research purposes. I won't collect any data because even though I haven't read the, practice service agreements, whatever else recently, I do know because of some stuff like with Facebook and the elections, whatever else, you're not allowed to collect certain data. So I don't collect any data automatically. But what I will do is probably in a couple of weeks, my research is specifically on entrepreneurs and more specifically on how entrepreneurship or entrepreneur individuals think. So there's a word that we use, fancy word for it, but it's called opportunity recognition. Most entrepreneurs see things that other people don't see, as far as how to turn something into a profit or how to, turn something into a business or how to take advantage of something or whatever else. And so that slight thinking difference of them gives them a different perspective on how items happen, and they make different choices than a normal individual would make.
Well,
that is the actual process or the brain thinking things that I study.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to say goodbye for this program. We'll have another program in a week. Okay. And we're going to discuss the actual mindset of an entrepreneur, if that's okay. Thank you. We'll see you. We'll see you soon.
That works for me.
The Coalition is a unique project designed to empower its members both individually and collectively. Besides individual empowerment, its broader focus is on the restoration, protection, and enhancement of citizen and human rights throughout the world through the aid of its members. As this project is centered in the United States, our first task is to create a website and social network infrastructure to promote collective efforts to take back our rightful control as citizens over our government as designed by our founding fathers. Although we must begin with the social network restricted to United States citizens, the organization will also host a global dialogue for the discussion of human rights by citizens of democratic nations throughout the world. If you're interested, please check us out in the GoFundMe.com website, entering in the search field the Coalition for Planetary Empowerment. That is, go to GoFundMe.com and enter in the search field the Coalition for Planetary Empowerment. This is Johnny Bluestar. We all live very closely or within ourselves to an immense journey of self-discovery and adventure. For humanity, both the wide expanse of stars and the infinitely wider space within ourselves beckon us to make that leap forward. Thank you for making Threshold Radio part of your journey. Be well and keep cosmic. Well, we could be an entrepreneur, or else we might wound up like a working man, as John Henry was. That ain't too bad. I think I'd rather be an entrepreneur. We go out with the lightning fast banjo of Bill Monroe.
John Henry was a little colored boy. Hold him on the palm of your hand. And his papa cried out his long farewell. Son, gonna be a steel driving man, Lord, Lord. Son, gonna be a steel driving man. John Henry went upon the mountain, looked down on the other side. Lord, the mountain was so tall, Johnny, and he was so bold. He laid down his hammer and he cried, Lord, Lord. He laid down his hammer and cried. John Henry walked through the tunnel, had his captain by his side. The last words that John Henry said, bring me who drank the water before I die, Lord, Lord. Who drank the water before I die? John Henry hammered on the right-hand side. The steam nail hammered on the left. Before I would see that stranger beat me down, I'd hammer my fool self to death, Lord, Lord. Hammer my fool self to death. When the women in Chicago heard John Henry dead, they'd out all dressed in red. When people asked them where they was going, we're going where John Henry fell dead, Lord, Lord. Going where John Henry fell dead. Talk about John Henry as much as you please. Say and do all that you can. There never was born in the United States another such a steel driving man, Lord, Lord. Another such a steel driving man. John Henry told his captain, I want to go to bed. Lord, fix me a pallet, I want to lay down. Got money rolling in my head, Lord, Lord. Money rolling in my head. John Henry had a little woman. Her name was Polly Ann. When John Henry took sick and he could not work, Polly drove a steel like a man, Lord, Lord. Polly drove a steel like a man. John Henry told his captain, I want to go to bed. Lord, fix me a pallet, I want to lay down. Got money roaring in my head, Lord, Lord. mighty low and in my head.